Hey, how are you going? I'm Erin, and it's really cold in my city at the moment, and so I have this cup of tea on hand, really just for hand warming purposes and not actually for drinking during this video. So just in case you're wondering why that's there, that's it. Here's a bit of the stuff I'm going to use in this video. I hadn't decided on a colour scheme yet, so I've got 3 tombos here. I'll talk a little bit more about them when we get to actually using them, but for now, let's jump in. I'm using a Notebook Therapy Tsuki original size bullet journal, and I had my watch on my right hand, so I was just switching over to my left, and my kitty showed up. This is Mitsu. He's my little bullet journaling office assistant boy, and he is the sweetest kitty in the world, at least that I have had the pleasure of meeting. Anyway, it's the dead of winter here in Australia, and my city, Brisbane, is way colder than it usually gets. We don't typically get much of a winter, but this year, it's serving it to us, which is nice because I get to wear my winter coats that I don't usually get to, and it's kind of like traveling without going anywhere, which is nice. I'm not sure if that influenced my color selections that I ended up with for this bullet journal layout, but I'm trying to bring a little bit of the opposite hemisphere into my bullet journal with these little daisies. I have used these daisies in my bullet journal before. If you have been sticking around here for a little while, my September 2020 bullet journal setup had a light blue and yellow theme with these cute little daisies, and so I've talked a little bit about them before, but they're super easy to draw. Let me just talk you through it briefly. So you're going to draw kind of an oval shape just wherever you would like it on your page, and then pick somewhere within that point. It doesn't have to be right in the center, it can be anywhere, and put another little circle there, and that's going to be the center of your flower. And then you'll just do some little scribbles in the middle to be the center of the flower, and from that point you're going to make these little wedge shapes that come out to reach all the way to the edges of that bigger circle oval shape that you drew. And if you want to curve them a little bit, that'll help them to look a bit more like petals, but you don't have to, as long as they are thinner on the inside and thicker on the outside. They will look like flowers once they're on the page. And if you want to go an extra little step, you can put a line from the center of the flower going out towards the outside of the petal that doesn't go all the way to the end, and that's going to make it look like there's a little fold in your petal, and that's it. I definitely got a lot more involved with these daisies last time. I had them all over my spreads, whereas this time I'm using them as just a really small accent. Thank you very much for your help, Mitsu. I was looking for something that wasn't too labor intensive but still kind of cute, because last month with all of those lines for my Art Deco setup, it wasn't fiddly kind of details, but it was fiddly kind of details. I don't know what to tell you. Hey Mitsu, sometimes this little boy is so demanding that I just have to go and attend to his needs and come back, so I'm going to do that now. Excuse me one moment, please, while I sip some tea and look after the kitty. Okay, we're back. So there's going to be a lot of lines still in this layout. I'm only going to use, this is a Tombow dual tip brush pen using the knot brush end. I'm only going to use this for some titles and this one box on the cover page because I know it can get a bit smudgy and I don't feel like cleaning my ruler constantly this month. So I'm also going to switch pens. This is the Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Brush Pen. It is my preferred lettering brush pen. If I'm going to letter with a brush pen, I want it to be this one. So I'm happy to switch between things. I have the Tombow right there and it also has a brush pen end, but I don't want it. I don't know. I like what I like. This next page is going to be the calendar. I'm flipping it sideways, so I'll have to turn the book to use the calendar. That doesn't bother me at all. This is a very similar layout to how I had my April setup. And I wanted to bring my daisies back in here. I kind of didn't plan this so well, so I was going to make this one of those wonky boxes where the calendar only has boxes for the days that are going to happen and you don't have any empty blank ones. But I got in there with my daisies a little too low and I'd forgotten to leave myself space to put the days of the week below the flowers. So rather than messing up the rest of my box because I'd already I'd already drawn one of the vertical lines, I thought I'll just extend everything up to be above the flowers, so the flowers are kind of growing out of, they've got like a little windowsill there, I guess, I don't know, and put all of the days of the week along the top. I always like to start my weeks on a Monday, so mine will go Monday to Sunday. And the last day of July will be a Saturday, so I've kind of kept my wonky box for the bottom right-hand corner, filled in some space with some more daisies. I realized at this point I wasn't wearing my glasses and things were fuzzy, so I'm just going to quickly put them on. And that's... Look, it's not a linear way to set up this page, is it? But I am apparently not a very linear girl, so there you go. Just going to finish up this grid situation. So this being the Notebook Therapy Tsuki original size, I think I've gone for 4 boxes in each direction for these days of the month. Wow, words are really hard tonight. If you have a different size journal, you will have to measure out the spacing for your own book. And I wanted to show you what this whole spread looked like just in black and white first, before I got in there with any colors, because I think it still looks super beautiful. That little bit more minimalist. I love color so much, but I wanted to show you first before I get in there with my pens. And at this point, I've decided on these two. I have a mauvey purpley Pitt Artist brush pen, and I also have a blue one. And I have used these before in my videos. I don't have that many colored pens, and I really do just keep going back to these Tombos. I was really keen on the Faber-Castell Pitt Artist brush pens for a while there, but I still love them. They're fantastic pens, but some of the colors I've got a couple of sets of them, and I'm just not always feeling the colors that I have. So I like that with the Tombos, I can just pop out to Officeworks here in Brisbane and pick up one pen. Sometimes they sell the Faber-Castells individually as well like that, but the Tombos are a lot more available because I guess they're just more well known. So that's always nice. And they work really well in the Notebook Therapy book as well, so that's handy. I'm just alternating the color of my flowers so that I'm trying not to have 2 purples next to each other without a blue, breaking them up a little bit. It doesn't matter, you could pick just one color, have all of your flowers that one color. I've also made the box along the top of my calendar page here purple, so I'm going to do a little circle in the corner of every day so that I can put the number for that day down somewhere that makes sense, and I'm doing that in the blue just because the days of the week are purple, so just trying to balance out how much of each colour makes it into the book. Just in case all of this looks like way too much work for you, there is also a printable version of this layout available on my Etsy store, which you can grab in the description box down below. I've popped a link to that, just in case you'd like to have this layout without all of the fuss. I have set it up so that there is a version that's exactly this layout, so you can use it for July 2021 along with me. But if you're watching this later and you're like, oh crap, I've missed the boat on July 2021, don't worry, there's a blank version included, so you can use it for any month in any year that you like. Versions of everything up to 31 days, so that it should apply to whenever you might want to use it, because, I mean, that's handy anyway, isn't it? July is 31 days, so that's always good. This next page, as always, it's my gratitude tracker. I don't know that it's really a tracker. It's my gratitude log, I guess. I just put down a few words every day of something I'm grateful for. This whole 2-column situation has been really good. I've been enjoying it. I like putting things in boxes at the moment because it just looks clean and organized, and that makes me happy. So I drew out the boxes after putting down my first flower at the bottom that I wanted to cover a little bit of the box, because 31 days, I've got 16 on one side, and then it goes up to the 31 on the right hand side, and there was a bit of space at the bottom of that box, so I just wanted to make my flower jump in there to take up a bit of that negative space, I guess. And the other ones are all going to sit behind the boxes as though I've just slapped them down on top. Still cannot recommend these putty erasers enough because of how they don't leave those weird eraser shavings all over your page. And I'm just going to get my colour on here now. I'm using the purple as a little highlight down the left side of each of these boxes, and that's where I'm going to put the number and the day for each day of July. So I like to have the initial for the day of the week, like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, MTW, because I just get confused if I don't have them. I don't know, I can remember what I did on Thursday, but not what I did on the 4th. Or whatever. So if that makes sense to you, you might want to do the same thing. Otherwise, you can just put down the number if you're a bit more organized than I am. This is a pretty simple spread, and I like that about it. Overall, this whole setup took me maybe like 40 minutes to set up, so that's pretty good, pretty speedy. Always makes me happy when it doesn't take me a long time to set up for the coming month. And I'm just going back in with the Faber-Castell Pitt Artist brush pen. I am going to switch it out to the Tombow at some point for the not brush tip end again, because I like how that looks as a heading lettering pen as well. But for now, we're going to stick to the Faber-Castell. And this next page is habits. I vary how I do my habits pretty often these days, but I didn't feel like writing out a whole bunch of numbers, so I'm defaulting back to how I did it for April, and also May. I think May was like this as well, where it's kind of a line system, so the numbers and the days of the week are going to go in that 2-space rectangle that goes along the top, And then I'm going to have the habits down the left side and just a line along the page after that. I went full Aussie for a second then, have a line along the page. I am Australian, but my accent's not quite that thick. There'll be a line going along underneath those numbers for each day of the week so that I can just put a dot that corresponds to the day that I did the habit. Not all of them are things that need to be done every day, so I find this works pretty well for me. And if you watched my setup for last month, I did a very Gatsby Art Deco kind of looking theme, and I used a different kind of habit tracker where you have to write out the number for each day of the week on every separate habit, and I just wasn't keen on that kind of level of hand cramping again. So this is definitely my preferred habit tracker system. I've alternated the colours for each habit, so they've each got 3 boxes down, or 3 spaces rather, down the left side for me to put down the name of each habit. And then along the top here, this is the Tombow dual tip brush pen using the not brush pen end. I should get shirts that say that, but nobody would wear them except for me. Ha ha ha. And then I'm going to get back in here. Oh, this fineliner, by the way, is the Sharpie pen. It is one of my favourites. I also have a Pentel pen, I think it is. That's a felt tip fineliner, and it's really good too, but I lost it into my couch and I haven't been bothered to go climbing under my couch to retrieve it yet, so this is the only Sharpie pen I have that still has any ink left. So I'm just going to use him until he runs out. Add these lines across here. Woo! Next up is just to add a few flowers to tie everything together, so I'm just going to put 4 little, not even whole daisies. These are going to seem like they're sitting behind the box again. I like overlapping things, it makes me happy. And I think it comes from some trauma from art class when I didn't used to overlap things and my teacher would be like, Erin, why is this floating in space? Because it is, and I don't know, I do what I want. Anyway, they're still kind of just floating in space, but they are hiding behind my habit box, so maybe my high school art teacher would be okay with that, maybe she wouldn't. Who cares? Anyway, just making sure that the theme all ties together all the way through. I do find it helps a lot to put down pencil marks before you go in with pens for these flowers. Some of them I don't mind going in just freehanding everything, but for these ones I think having pencil down first really helps, so that's just me. Maybe you can do it without pencil marks, but I need training wheels. Just going to add my habits in here before I carry on. Got to refer back to my June setup to know what I'm tracking. I've got a couple new ones, but most of them are carrying over from last month. And then we're on to the next page. Look at us smashing through this. We are going so fast and I love it. This is going to be my sleep tracker. I always mess this page up and you will see that I do the same thing that I always do. I usually have a podcast or some music on while I'm setting up my bullet journal and I get a little bit in the zone and I forget what I'm doing on the page and I'll be writing out times. This is the issue. The days of the week just go in order, so that's all good, unless you accidentally continue after 28 or 30 or 31. There's not too much to worry about. But with the times, given that this is my sleep tracker, I'm tracking like 8 or 9 p.m. through to 8 a.m. whatever when I wake up. And I forget while I'm listening to stuff and I get up to 12 and I just keep going, 13, 14, 15. And I did that along the bottom of this page. I like to have a reference to the times along the bottom too, because once you get to the second half of the month, it gets a bit confusing. So, oops, yeah, I did it here and I just jumped in there with my correction tape. And look, the Tombow doesn't sit so nicely over this, so it kind of smudged everything around. Doesn't look very good. It's not the end of the world, but it's a little bit annoying. So, try to pay attention. But if you do mess up, it doesn't matter. It's only got to last you a month. It's all good. Time to add some little daisies to the top of this sleep tracker just to make sure that everything makes sense all together. There's got to be a daisy on each page or I'm sad. So there we go. And one thing I've done differently on this sleep tracker this time, I usually put a bit of colour down the side where those numbers and days of the week are. So like, what is it, Thursday the 1st, Friday the 2nd, Saturday the 3rd, etc. down that left-hand column. I've left it blank this time because that means I can use the far end of the page to mean 8 p.m, sorry. I'm not going to bed at 8 a.m. I don't work nights, but I do sometimes go to bed really early and my sleep tracker doesn't go far enough back. And I also sometimes, like this morning, the day that I'm recording this, I didn't get up until 10 a.m. and my sleep tracker doesn't extend that far on the page, so I have to just kind of go to the limits of what I have. But if I leave those numbers on the left-hand side with nothing behind them, then I can go back to 8 p.m. and just color in the text, and I know what that means, and so that gives me a little bit more space to play with. So I'm going to see how that goes this month, and I will report back next month and let you know if it worked or if I was annoyed at it, if I didn't like how it looked. We'll have to see. This next page is my spending tracker. Sometimes I call it expenses, sometimes I call it spending. It just depends on how keen I am to try and hand letter an X, because I'm not very comfortable doing those ones. And, you know, I don't sit down and practice my hand lettering or anything. I just am too lazy for that. I run 2 businesses. I don't have time. So my hand lettering, some months it's like on point and going really well, and some months it's not the best ever. And I feel like this one is somewhere in between that spectrum. So if I went a bit slower, it would probably be a little bit more elegant, but it is what it is. It is on the page now, and that is all that counts. Couple of flowers up the top. So the spending tracker, just to talk you through it very quickly, I used to do it over 2 pages. Now I like to smush it into one and just use a bit less detail, but it's lots of 2 columns, and each of those columns are for item, cost, and category. Everything that I buy, I write down here, so I can then tally up the categories at the end of the month. I have an overall spending tracker at the very beginning of my bullet journal, so every cent that I spend over the course of a year goes in there, and then I can track patterns over time, see where all my money went. I have a savings tracker as well, so I can kind of pit them against each other and see how I did. And that's that page. This last one is going to be my weekly. I'm mixing it up. The last couple of months I've done single page weeklies, and I really liked them, but I've only got so many pages left in this journal, so I think I worked it out. I had about 24 pages left before I started setting up July, and I wasn't sure if I should move into a new journal because I do have one ready to go, or if I should stick with it, but I decided I can't be that wasteful. But I did want to take up some more of the pages, so even though single page weeklies have been working really well for me, I thought let's go back to double page weeklies for a bit just to make sure that I'm taking up this space. Yes, so each one of these boxes is going to be for events on each day of the week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I say that like you don't know what the days of the week are. You know what the days of the week are. I don't need to explain that to you. Alternated colors down the left side, and just put the name for each day in there. And then I'm going to pop some flowers in here. So the rest of them have just been floating in space. These flowers are going to have some stems, just because I thought they looked a bit too weird without them. But if you like them without them, you don't have to do that. If you'd like to leave this completely blank and not go in and draw flowers on your bullet journal spread, you could do that and it will still look very nice. You could make these horizontal boxes take up the whole page if you wanted to have a bit more space to write things down. I'm just going to be putting events, and I work from home most days, so I don't really need to have a lot of space to write my events down, but I like to still have somewhere to put them for when I do have them. So yeah, got some stems going on there. They're just 2 lines really close together that come from approximately that center point of your flower. And then on the opposite page, okay, I'm pushing myself here because I don't really need a whole page for a running to-do list, but I didn't want to do, usually I don't do all of the things in a day that I set out for myself, so I have to migrate a lot of my tasks to the next day if I just have like a weekly setup where it's just the days. So I have been enjoying the running task lists that I've been doing in the past couple of months, but this time I was like, I don't need as much space as I'm going to have on a whole page, so I've added some extra boxes on the side here for myself to mix things up. I'm going to see how we go. Then this is not a layout that I've used before, so I don't know if I'm going to like it or not, but I want to give it a go. So the top one is going to be goals for the week. I set myself goals for the year, and I set myself goals for the month, but I don't usually go in and set a goal for each week. So I thought goals could be a good thing to try. I may completely ignore them. The box might not get used. We will find out, but we'll see how we go for the month. And below that, I'm going to put a quote, which again, I don't usually do, but if I can find a quote that aligns with the goal for the month, that'd be good. And the last box is going to be intentions. So similar to the goals kind of thing, except in a general approach to life kind of way, just my intentions for that week, whether it's to be kind or to be, I don't know. I'll get back to you on that. I haven't worked out what they're going to be, and I'm going to have a good think about that, but it should be interesting. We'll see how we go. And that left side box on the right page is just going to be my running task list. I found that that's about how much space I needed for a running task list for a week in my previous setup, so that's what that's going to be. And that's it. That's the whole setup. Oh my gosh, that seemed really quick. So this is my July 2021. Thank you so much for watching. In case you missed it at the start, my name is Erin and I make these bullet journaling videos every month. I also do printable versions of all of them that you can find on my Etsy store. In case you don't want to do all the work yourself, you're welcome to pinch them from me for a small fee. You can also find me on Instagram if you want to see how this layout's working for me through the month. And I'm erinsmith.art over there. This is how much bullet journal I have left to go, so we'll be moving into a new one soon, which means a new bullet journal setup video coming, so do subscribe if you want to see that, and I will catch you again real soon. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful July. Bye! Baby, that's my